So I want to start with a quote that I love. It says, most people overthink first, act later. Every successful entrepreneur acts first, figures it out later. Any analysis ahead of action is purely speculation. You really do not understand something until you've done it. Rather than try to plan your way into confidence to act, just start acting. That quote is from Noah Kagan, and it is from this book right here. It's called The $1 Million Weekend. The surprisingly simple way to launch a 7-figure business in 48 hours. And this book represents a few things. Number one, it represents something that I have not done my entire entrepreneurial career, and that is read a business book or a self-help book. I hate to read, and it's honestly one of my biggest insecurities. And I've mentioned this before, but whenever I would go on like some of these like podcasts and people would ask me like, hey, what's your favorite book? Right? Or what book would you recommend to other people? I always would lie, honestly, until I got comfortable in who I was and realized that, you know what, some people just don't like reading, and it's okay. I consume a lot of information, I consume a lot of content, but it's usually through YouTube, it's through listening, it's through a podcast, it's through, Audible, it's through one of these other platforms. I love to listen and learn, but I just hate sitting there reading a book. I just don't do it. I feel like it's kind of a waste of time. I also, for me, the type of entrepreneur I am, I just want to do it. I just want to try. I just want to jump. And if I fuck it up, when I fuck it up, I want to figure out a better way to do it. And that in and of itself is kind of one of the big takeaways to this book that I actually read this past weekend. I read the whole thing. I read this book in 48 hours, and it was awesome. And this video is not a promotion for this. Actually, I guess it is a promotion for this book. I'm not getting paid. It's not a sponsorship. But I'll link down below to the Amazon link if you guys want to check this out. I also will link to the White Label Empire down below, because if you are somebody that's been thinking, if you've been planning, if you've been thinking, I may someday want to start, and you don't just join the White Label Empire like today, like what are you doing? Anyway, today what I want to talk about are a few things in this book that I really love, that I think every single one of you needs to hear. Now, I personally think that every single one of you should read this book. If I read it, you should read it. And honestly, it blew my mind. It blew my mind that somebody got it. Somebody got it like I got it. Somebody got it in a way and was able to eloquently actually explain the process and what you really should be concerned about. Because the problem is that most potential like entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, they plan, they think, but they don't act. And the number one thing that you need to remember is action is everything. You can plan all day long. You can read every business book out there, but it takes you jumping, figuring it out. And unfortunately, and one of the things that I love so much about this is that a lot of times by the time you act, you've wasted so much time. And then one of the other problems is that you basically are choosing a business or choosing something to do based on what you think, as opposed to what your customer will actually pay for. And in this book, Noah basically goes over how to choose $1 million product idea and basically how to test it. And the fact that you shouldn't actually start any business until you've gotten 3 people to pay you money for your idea or your business within 48 hours. And he explains like how to do that and all that. But the first thing I really want to do today, because it got me thinking, it got me inspired, and I actually came up with $1 million business idea that I'm going to give away to you to basically take and steal and do something with if you choose to do it. Or most of you will just sit there and think about it, or basically not do it because it's scary and you're not sure and it's certain what's going to happen, which is the whole point of this book. You've got to act, you've got to do, you've got to start. Chapter 1 is just fucking start. Start before you're ready. He also, in the beginning of the book, goes over the 10 most common reasons that people give to why they don't basically start a business, or their excuses, because that's typically what it is. And he actually goes through and talks about like exactly what chapter we're going to basically smash these excuses. Like number 1, I don't have any good ideas. I'm going to talk about my good idea in a second. Number 2, I've got too many ideas. Number 3, starting a business is risky. I'm nervous about quitting my job. Number 4, I've started a few different businesses. They do okay and then I lose interest. Number 5, but how will it scale? Number 6, I don't have enough time to create a business. Number 7, I need to read more books, do more research, and to be totally prepared before I can really start. Number 8, I'm broke as fuck. I've spent so much money and have made $0 in profit. Number 9, I'm not good at marketing. And number 10 is I need a technology co-founder to implement AI, VR, AR, and latest technology. I don't even know what that stuff is. But anyway, here's the deal. For those of you out there that have been thinking, for those of you out there that have been contemplating, now is the time. Do not wait, do not think, do not plan, act. Start before you're ready. Because that is one of the things, and I've often said, I said this to my buddy Antonio, I have a superpower. And I always tell him I'm not that smart. And so I basically am willing to try things and figure it out later, right? And what I say to Antonio is the reason why I've been successful, it's not because I've been the best at anything. It's not because I've been first at most things other than YouTube. It's because I'm willing to just try it. And I'm willing to try it without knowing kind of the outcome. You know, the perfect example of this is like the white label empire, right? When I decided this, literally, it was like a month before I launched that business, right? And it was one of those things where I'm like, I just came on and I was like, hey, I want to start a community. I knew nothing about starting a community. I knew nothing about what I was actually going to talk about. I just knew I wanted to do something. And literally 4 weeks later, I launched it and it was a wild success, right? And even like during the process, you know, I still wasn't sure exactly like what I wanted to focus on, what I wanted to talk about, what was going to be valuable to my customer, right? I thought I was going to need to do like all these different verticals. Like, oh, I need to teach about Amazon. I need to teach information products. I need to do white label. And then when I actually asked you guys what you wanted, you told me. I gave you choices. And 50% of you said, hey, I want to learn how to start a business that sells product or physical goods, right? And so I'm like, oh, so instead of actually me thinking I need to overcomplicate things, the real value, you were telling me exactly what you wanted, which is one of the big takeaways that you got to understand, is if you ask your customers what they're willing to actually pay for, this is the best option. All right. And it's also about solving people that have money's problems. All right. If you're a student, right, and your skill set and what you're thinking about is based around students, you got to understand that students are broke, right? You've got to solve problems that people with money and access to cash actually will have. Which brings me to the first thing you need to understand is that if you solve somebody's problem and make their life easier, they will buy it. If you get in front of them to actually show them. Scaling. It boils down to scaling. And that's something that we teach you and help you with in the White Label Empire. And in section 3, Grow It, that's what Noah talks about here as well. It's not that complicated. And you don't need a ton of knowledge. But what you need to have are balls to start. All right. So anyway, here's the deal. One of the biggest problems that people have when it comes to starting a business is thinking of a great idea. So there are 4 ways that Noah talks about having an unlimited supply of ideas for businesses. Number 1, solve your own problems. I'm going to solve my own problem in a second and give you a business that you can actually steal. Number 2 is make a product better. An already like home run product, right? One of the members in the White Label Empire is actually making customized like straps for the Apple Watch, right? Which is great. Perfect example, right? He's selling them on Etsy. And it's basically like custom engraving, all right? The Apple Watch, huge seller, right? Lots of people are searching for it. And he's customizing it, which is hugely unique, special, and awesome, right? And so that's a great example of that, all right? Another one is like cell phone cases. Everybody needs like a cell phone case, right? And so if you're doing something special or cool or different, right? It's already a hero product. Number 3 is look at marketplaces, right? Marketplaces are like places like, you know, Craigslist. Like, what are people wanting? What help are they needing? What are they asking for? There are tons of people that are on these looking for like, hey, I need an electrician, or not an electrician. That's kind of a little more specialized, but I'll get to my idea in a second, which kind of could tie into that, right? They're asking, I need a dog sitter. I need this, I need that, right? What are people wanting for? And solve that problem. And the fourth thing is Google it, right? Google and going into how to and seeing what auto-populates and then seeing the list, that's a great way to know, hey, what are people searching for? If people are searching for and the search volume is high, you are more likely to be successful. Another tool that I'd like to share that I talk about in the White Label Empire, because we also do like a passion finder and try to help you find some ideas, but these are also really great tips, And that is to go to Google Trends, right? Google Trends, it's free. And you basically can search whatever you're searching for or whatever product or whatever service you're thinking of to see what search volume is there. And then you can compare it to like different searches. So if it's like Apple Watch straps or cell phone covers or whatever it may be, you can see what is the search volume. And then if something has a higher search volume, chances are you're going to be more likely to be successful because the more people that are searching for something, the better, right? It's all about search volume. It's all about traffic, and it's all about driving traffic to that business, that landing page, your Amazon store or whatever. The other thing I just want to mention, the white label empire, that's the name, right? White labeling, private labeling, that is basically sticking your logo on a pre-existing product or design. But here's the other thing. The steps between a private label, white label, and a custom product is like one step. And so we also talk about that. And so white labeling is a very affordable way to basically start a business with low overhead, but a lot of services are like zero startup cost. And that's one of the other beautiful things, right? If you're doing some type of service, it's like free, right? You just need to figure out how to build your website. You need to figure out how to market, and then it's basically you executing. So my idea hit me after reading this book, right? One of the things that I struggle with is finding a reliable handyman that isn't on crack. And I don't literally mean like on crack, but kind of I mean on crack, because the problem is finding reliable handymen, right? And so when I would go onto my community group in Marietta, I would always see people posting, hey, I need a handyman, or oh, I need a handyman. Man, my mom asked me, hey, do you know anybody? And my salon, right? They are always like needing handyman work. And the problem is that most of the people you're gonna find are like kind of scuzzy, or they're not actually like gonna show up on time. What if you created a service that was localized in your community, right? Or in your city, that was basically like a professional handyman service, right? You could call it like, whatever. I don't even, what you call it, whatever. But what I would do is I would basically build out this service, and then I would go and contact professionals in the various items or areas that I would need, right? If I would need a carpenter, I would go and I would find them, be like, hey, what do you charge per hour? Do you do in-home stuff? All right, AC people, home repair, whether or not it's like HVAC or plumbers or, siding people or roofers. I would go and I would source these people and say, hey, what will you basically charge me per hourly rate to actually do this? And then what I would do is I would basically just upcharge it so that I would keep the delta. And then I would basically post and advertise my service in these various communities, right? And I could start one here in Atlanta or Marietta, but I could grow, I could expand it. I could do all of Atlanta, and then I could go to another city, right? And my job as the business owner is simply marketing, promoting in these different communities, and then making sure that the people that are actually I'm hiring or contracting with are doing the job. I would have basically like a protocol where they've got to be dressed appropriately, they've got to be dressed nicely, because that's the thing, guys. If you're having somebody in your house, you don't want them to be or look like they might steal your shit, right? And if you did this, I promise you, you could scale this nationally, right? You would have $1 million business fucking fast as shit, because this service and this idea and this is something that people need and they want. And finding a good one is really, really hard. And so this is just a great example of solve my own problem, but also solve other people's problems. You can steal it. I hope you steal it and bring it to Marietta, because I need it. The funny thing is that once you start thinking this way, right, then all of a sudden the ideas start like flooding in, right? I had another idea about like a trash service, right? Not like collecting trash, but one of the most frustrating things for me is forgetting that it's trash day, right? Or what if you're a little old lady, right? And you've got trash or you've got stuff or you got things you want to put out at the curb, right? What do? Well, you could start like a local like trash, like business where you basically go and hey, it's $10 a month or it's $20 a month or whatever it is, right? But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that your trash gets there, and then I take your can back. Like, what if you did something like that? And then you could hire people to basically go out, and you have the addresses, and if you were in like a community, right, that is like a track community, right, you'd have, 5 people on the street maybe that would have you do the service. And so you're making like $50 from them, and then you're going to like deeper into the neighborhood, you're handing out flyers, you're doing marketing. Like the ideas just start fucking flooding when you start thinking creatively. Fear is the reason why people don't start, right? That is the number one thing people give. It's the fear of whatever, the fear of failing, the fear of starting, the fear of asking. Well, Noah has another thing that he actually told me. I interviewed Noah years ago on like a little like podcast. And I think he actually had me on one of his podcasts as well. So I've met Noah. He's actually agreed to be on a live coaching session on the White Label Empire coming up. He's actually taking a 2-month break from doing pretty much anything because that's what you can do when you've got a lot of money. Noah basically has a business that he's built over the years called AppSumo that does like $80 million, but he also has like 7 other million-dollar businesses, and they all basically follow the same exact formula. Noah is like the hustler of hustlers in terms of business ideation, trying, creating. It's unbelievable. But anyway, in the book, he talks about different things that he's tried and signs that it was not good, and also some signs that something is good. If you can't get somebody to pay you 3 people within 48 hours, it's not a good business, right? Because everybody is going to tell you your business is great, right? Your friends, your family, everybody you go to and be like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a embroidery business. Like, would you think that's good? And they'd be like, yeah, that's awesome. Great job. Keep going, right? Would you buy it? What if I charge you for it right now? Like, will you pay me right now to actually do it? It's $20. Well, exactly. If you can't get 3 people to buy within 48 hours, it's probably not a great idea. You got to get back to work and think again, right? So anyway, he has this challenge called the coffee challenge, and I love it. Basically, it's all about working the fear muscle, right? The fear of asking and the fear of being rejected, because that is the thing that holds so many people back, right? And so the whole idea is that when you go in to get a cup of coffee, it could be Starbucks, it could be the session stand, like wherever. I'm fully caffeinated today. You basically just go up and when you're checking out, you just say, excuse me, can I have 10% off? And you don't say why. You don't be like, well, don't explain yourself. Just ask, can I get 10% off? And let them react. Let them respond. Some people say yeah. Most people will say no. And when they say no, be like, okay. When they say yes, be like, thanks. That's it. It's the fear of asking. It's the fear of rejection. And by doing this consistently, whether or not it's for coffee or at a grocery store or wherever, a retail establishment, because that's one of the things that I learned. You know, I've learned a lot of tricks over the years of being broke. And one of the things that I would do when I would go into like a Macy's or even like a department store or like a J. Crew, an individual store, I would always ask for a coupon. When I'm checking out, I'd be like, hey, do you have any coupons available that you could use? 9 times out of 10, they would give me a coupon and I'd save money. Most of these department stores and stores have ways of giving you a discount, but you've just got to ask. But most people don't ask because A, they're scared, and they B, don't know that you could actually get a discount. Same thing happens today. Even though I'm not like broke, I still, just out of the sport of it, will ask people and cashiers for discounts. It's just something I like doing. Does it come across as cheap? Maybe, but I think it's fun. And you can also save a lot of money. My wife, she's like, I can't even believe how well this works. And she actually tells her girlfriends, like, Aaron always asks for like a discount whenever he's checking out at like a clothing store, and he always gets it. I'm telling you, you get it more times than not. If they've got one and they'll look and they'll try, or they'll tell you, you know, just wait until next week and I'll hold your stuff back here. There's a code coming out, or whatever it is. It's amazing. But anyway, asking, just ask. What is the worst thing that happens? They say no, and you go about your day and everything else stays the same. No big deal. Gentlemen, here's the deal. I want to wrap this video up by encouraging you and telling you that if you do nothing else today, I want you to start. Take the action. Maybe that action is buying this book. Maybe the action is joining the White Label Empire. Maybe the action is starting to go on Craigslist and some of these other places to look to see what problems people are having. Maybe the action is making a list of 10 different things that you could possibly do. Maybe that's the action. However big or small that action is, as long as you take it. And then tomorrow, another action. You string enough of these actions together, boom, you're gonna blow your mind where you are in a week, in a month, in a year from now. If I think back to when I started my first white label business, it was Pete and Pedro, as I've mentioned before. You know, it's gonna do this year around $10 million. It's gonna do like, you know, over $2 million in like free cash flow, like in my pocket. Anyway, I teach you all the secrets, and not secrets. I teach you all the things you need to know and how to do it and how I did it in the White Label Empire. So anyway, enough about that. If you haven't joined yet, now is the time. We're doing some amazing things, and I don't want you to be left out, but I also don't want people in there that are too scared to actually take action. So anyway, if I think back to when I started my private label business, right? Everybody told me it was a bad idea. Everybody said, no, don't do that. When I started a YouTube channel, everybody said, wait, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? It's weird. Nobody makes YouTube videos other than like cat videos. Every beautiful decision I've ever made has been because I've decided just to act. I didn't overthink it, because if I had thought about what could potentially happen, I probably would never have done it, because the fear of the unknown and the potential outcome when it comes to being embarrassed or having people laugh at you or making fun of you, it's scary, right? But for me, what's more scary is living an average life and looking back at my life 10 years, 5 years, 100 years from now, and thinking about all the chances and opportunities I didn't take. Gentlemen, don't be that guy. If you're thinking about starting a business, do it now. Don't wait. It doesn't mean to jump blindly, but educate yourself enough. Read that book. It's amazing. Join the community. It's incredible. And take action now, today. Don't wait, today.